Hey everyone, Eggman here with another video, and we're just a couple days away from the pre-releases for the fourth set of the One Piece card game, Kingdoms of Intrigue, which I'm really looking forward to. I've been doing a lot of testing on my Twitch. I should be live on Twitch like a couple hours after this video goes live, so if you're watching this pretty soon after it releases, I'm probably live on Twitch right now doing some testing as well. But I'm going to talk about yellow in general for this video. Kind of, it's the new color that came out last set. It's been okay, I think, in the OP03 meta, and just kind of my thoughts going on into it in OP04. I have a lot of people tell me, just comment like specifically about 10 drop Big Mom right here. That's been a lot of problems for a lot of people. So I want to go over my thoughts for it and kind of go from this. So this is going to be, more of an opinion piece. It's kind of akin to kind of just my discussions about red in OP03 as well. If you guys want more of those opinions as we go into it, but this is more just kind of a prediction of how good I think yellow will be based on, where it was in OP03 and kind of into OP04. This is going to be assuming the restriction list holds because we don't really have confirmation on that. So that could reflect and make some differences for this one. And I don't think that this isn't like a call of action video again or complaining in anything, but this is just my predictions and my thought of kind of just yellow in general. And I do think it's going to be very strong. I think that's the quick thing is I think it's going to be very strong in OP04, and I think it's going to be better than it was in OP03. So we're going to just kind of discuss that, go over some of the cards that we have, some of the cards that we're getting, and then we're also going to have some example deck list at the end of this video for you guys who want some of that data too. So jumping quickly into some English OP03 meta results. These are just kind of a scraping of the last 10 events, big events that happened, either regionals or treasure cups that have happened pretty much around the world in the English meta. And in general, Katakuri, which is essentially the best yellow leader as far as it's really the only one that tops. So we do see some Yamatos. We have seen a couple of like the Star deck Lin as well get some tops, but generically it's mostly just the Katakuri on this one, and it's been getting about 10 of the last 10 spots in the last 10 events in the top 16. So about 10% of the the toppings are a Katakuri. So it's not. I'd say it's present. I think that kind of puts it at like tier 2 or maybe like bottom of tier 2 in the sense that it does top, but not very often. I think the deck is strong and has been strong, but it is kind of suffering from, I think, a small card pool in OP03, and it's not. I don't think it's the best event or best deck in any way. I do think people dislike playing against yellow at times, and that's fair. But I think from like a strength purposes, it's not very relevant, especially like when you see all these new gate faces across the board there. So that's kind of how it's been at the end of the OP03 meta. And if we look at the Asia OP04 meta, and these are results and kind of deck lists from One Piece top decks, which I will link in the description if you guys want to see these as well. This is a little bit, again, generalized data in the fact that these aren't all like super huge big events that have happened, and the way that they've gone the deck list are more kind of this like the first place list, so that is kind of skewing the data a little bit. But again, for more of just an overview and our purposes for this one, we do see that Katakuri does get a good amount of tops in the area. It's the third, I guess, tied for second with Dofi, the OP04 Dofi, with terms of tops. And then we also see Lin get a couple tops. The Star X7 one, we see Yamato get like a tiny bit, Arlong get like a tiny bit, and then also Queen. I think Queen's also like a little bit of a breakout for it, and I'm really curious to see how Queen does specifically for us here in North America, as I know a lot of people are on the leader. Crocodile also getting like the occasional tops here, which I've been liking the leader, even though I think he's a little bit undertuned at times. But by and large, I think that it shows that Katakuri's been pretty present in OP04, and I would say it has increased in popularity since OP03 in Asia. And this is also, they have it's unrestricted, right? New Gate's at 4. This is also where Marco's at 4 and Rad Beam's at 4 too, which is, I'd say, like moderately impressive for what that is as well. But I also think that means that the New Gate, which is strictly the most topping leader, at least most represented leader for everything in the OP04 meta based on this screenshot, is just like probably running more than one new gate, and because that's a little bit slower. And I think Katakuri does better on the less aggressive versions of new gate, because you are able to get like that power, the power, like the fact that new gate is trying to save their life, and that means that your 10 drop does a lot of damage, which is really nice. And like if your opponent plays 9 drop new gate, you play 10 drop, and then you're in a really good spot. So that's kind of the overview there. So I think it's safe to say, and be a safe bet to say that I think OP04 will have a good amount more of yellow, but it's mostly going to just be Katakuri. And it kind of leads me to my next point. Is 10 drop Linlen broken, right? This is a conversation I have a lot. I have with a lot of people. They just say, man, that card is broken. That card is the only thing that yellow has for it. And I just want to give my opinions about the card in general real quick. So yeah, it's very good. I'm not going to argue in that sense. It's a 10 drop, sure, which means that it has to be kind of good because it's your only play for the entire turn. But it being a 12k body is fantastic. I don't know why it's a 12k. It seems I still defend that it should probably be a 10k. Like, look at Kuzan. Kuzan's a 10k, and it's kind of the same thing, but it's whatever. Also, it has an on-play if your leader has Big Mom Pirates type. Place up to one card from the top of your deck at the top of your life area, then trash up to one card from your opponent's life area. So, did I have to even read that? Do you guys not know how this card works? How many people didn't know this? Because you have no doubtedly seen this hit the board across from you, like, oh, so you heal, I lose a life. That's a 2 life deficit on the single play, and that's a 12k buy that keeps on swinging, right? So I think that this is, and I think like the worst for it, and this is kind of why I put like the little Newgate card in the bottom here, is that Charlotte Linlen, the best play to a Charlotte Linlen is a second Linlen afterwards, right? And there have been so many cases in, I think, Newgate where, like, if you play the 9-drop Newgate, you're like, okay, fine, I won't attack this turn or whatever. It's going to be, like, upsetting, but it's fine because, next turn they're going to be back to a 6k leader to be fine. And they play a second Newgate, and you're like, okay, I lost because now they have a 10k swing this turn. They'll have 2 10k swings the turn after that, and I just can't do any damage to them. So Linlen's kind of the same way, where it's just like, oh, well, I played the first one, and then the second one burnt a second life, and I have this 12k body attacking in as well, and that's kind of rough. So I do 100% agree that Linlen being able, if you have the time and setup to do 2 of them back to back, I think that is very, very impressive in a lot of ways, and I think I could potentially see it being limited to 1 in the future if we find that it's oppressive. I don't think it's there yet. I think the other thing to say, and you can look back at this too, is that it depends on how fast the meta is, right? Traditionally, I think in OP03, Zoro and Newgate and essentially Law is also really tricky for yellow to handle because they, at least in OP03, don't have really efficient removal cards for it. But just the fact that most of these decks were pretty fast in OP03, right? In this meta though, if it's what I'm thinking about, where there'll be more decks that are very slower or more like just try to get out value or be more control-y, this is like the control breaker, right? Like, this is a very good card. The fact that it does burn damage is fantastic, and the fact that it's very, very hard to remove. We do have like Red Rock being able to remove it in blue and such, but like this is the control breaker, and I think because of that, a lot of people in the first couple of weeks of OP04 are going to be playing some of these slower decks, and someone just playing Katakuri with Charlotte Linlen at 4 copies is going to do very, very well because of that, before people kind of adjust to what's good, and probably moving back to red as well after saying, oh, okay, these cards are cool, but I want to go back to what's winning. That's kind of my opinion on that. So we'll see how this works, but I think that Charlotte Linlen is good. It is restricted to only 3 leaders in the game, the Katakuri, and both other Linlens, because it does have to have the Big Mom's Pirate to it, which is at least the only amount. Like, can you imagine if like Yamato could play this card? It'd be pretty busted, I think, in that. Like, it'd make other yellow leaders viable, but man, like, even like, imagine if Queen could play this card, it'd be pretty stupid. So that's kind of just my thoughts of this. I think this is a very, very good card, and it does present a problem if we want to play games where it just breaks control decks, and that could be something that's really unwanted moving forward. So and that's kind of how it is. And then also I do want to mention that yellow has a lot of every other color has trigger mechanics, right? That's not anything unique to yellow, but they've kind of like doubled down on like, this is the identity of what the color does, and we really want to do that. And we're getting like these 2 guys right here, which are just fantastic. We have beige, which is a very, I would say this is very, very strong. So it's a 2k counter, so it's always great, but just the fact that it says trigger up to one of your opponent's leaders or characters cannot attack during this turn, like literally can't attack, like can't attack at all. This is better than a blocker. Nothing can attack. There's so many effects that also based on attacking, so even if it was like a blocker and preventing the damage being done, that's fine. But we also just have like this compared with having the Sanji, which is a blocker that can come out of your life, and we also have like the Charlotte Brûlée, you can have like 12 different disrupting cards in your life at any, that could be put into your life and it'd be there in certain spots, especially since like if you play Katakuri, you see this beige, I'm going to put it to the bottom of my life every single time because it's going to be very strong. Or one of my blockers, like with 12 different spots for that, Katakuri is going to be able to find that very easy. And then obviously like Charlotte Linlin, the star deck can put that into your life very easy too. There's a lot of good combinations with these guys. So I do want to mention too, like this is a Digimon card. Digimon as a identity as their game, everything essentially either you compare power for the cards in their life, which is called security in that game, or the cards have triggers, and there is essentially a lot of cards that you only play because they have good triggers and you want to play them in there, right? Like that's kind of like the entire identity of Digimon of having these effects in their security, but that's what's only kind of the identity for yellow, which is kind of how it plays a different game. So I think the reason I mentioned this too is I know that this is an issue where I don't know, and this kind of goes back to both of these, is that these are decks that people do not like playing against because it feels like they're doing unfair things. I think that's kind of what it boils down to, is that even like in OP03 where Katakuri is rarely topping at a top end, right? The populace, I'd say in general, it's split, right? There are definitely people who like playing it, and maybe it's just people who are loud and complaining in comments, but I understand like why this is unfair in like on the surface and why people don't like playing against it, because you could make the right play and the right move, but your opponent gets rewarded out of nowhere, it seems, right? Because they said, oh, you found beige as your last life. Oh, that's sorry, I won, right? And it kind of goes to like a deeper level of like knowing what could be in your opponent's life and kind of playing around what your opponent can be doing. But man, I've been hit by Thunderbolt so many times at wrong periods, and I don't feel like I've played around it, but like, I don't know, it just feels very bad. So I understand why there's a lot of people who are upset at yellow at the fact that it can be very swingy and sometimes it feels like your opponent won and it wasn't really their fault or your fault. It's just kind of how the deck was shuffled. So I don't know. We'll see how that kind of works for it, but I do think that people who are upset playing against yellow are kind of validated for it. But I also think it's something that at a high level you can play around and do well against. But that doesn't mean like it's at the end of the day, like one last thing I want to say is that, and we can kind of just go to the final thoughts and list slide for this one, but balancing has like two things, right? Balancing to make the game like fair from like a diversity and having, balanced decks is good, but there's also the customer satisfaction kind of side of it, because Bandai is a business, they want to sell cards, right? That's kind of what they do for this. So the fact that, even if a deck isn't like super duper represented, the idea that, oh, people don't like playing against this deck means that they want to try to address it, right? So I don't know if yellow's going to be hit, and I don't even know if it's going to be super well, right? This is all just kind of a prediction, kind of an opinion, and just where my thought is, because a lot of people do ask me these questions, and I want to make just a video out there for it. But I think yellow is in a really good spot. I think it's going to be doing better in OP04 than OP03. I think if the meta is what I think it will be, yellow, Katakuri specifically, which is the poster child for yellow, I think in OP04 in general, is going to be doing very well. It'll be kind of a gatekeeper in the fact that it is very strong. And we're going to look at the deck list too in a minute for what my thoughts are. Some of them are good. Some of them are, I'd say, like more experimental. Pretty much the Katakuri list is good, and the other two are ones I've been trying out with. But I think the deck is strong, and we'll see how strong it is. I think it'll be, I don't know. We'll see. I'll guess. I'll guess on average, Katakuri will go up to maybe 3 to 4 into top 16. So about that average of that. So that's my prediction. We'll see if that's the case, and that's kind of that. So let's jump into the deck list and end this video. All right, and to the deck list, we have 3 we want to go over, and specifically for this one, I have both Katakuri and Linlin in the leader position, just because they are moderately interchangeable. There's differences that you would use for Linlin, and since you can specifically put cards into your life, that's very, very strong for this deck in general. So there might be some like swingier or like some riskier trigger cards that you can put in there, and you probably run for the deck. But I do like both are good in their own way. I think Katakuri is better on average, but Linlin is still viable too. But I think it is just like a slightly worse Katakuri in this meta as well. So, but going over this deck, so this is Katakuri most of the time. You'll see a lot of the same kind of usual suspects that we've been seeing in OP03. Again, the card pool for yellow is smaller than any other color because it is the newest color, but they have been kind of increasing it a little bit. The biggest thing that they did though for this meta though is that they added just a bunch of more Big Mom Pirates cards, which I don't know if it needed like a second wave of support, but it definitely got it. So cards like another 2K, that's a Big Mom Pirates, but also not named Pudding, which means you can find it off Pudding. So now we have way better 2Ks that are super searchable off now Pudding and Espira, which is really nice. We also have, again, the Sanji blocker. So being able to have, like, again, we're playing 10 disruption cards in our that can be hit in our life, as in 2 copies of the Brulee, 4 copies of the Beige, and then 4 copies of Sanji. So if your opponent has, like, swings with their leader and they have like a 20k attack on the second swing, when you go down to 0, if any of these are last life, you win the game, which is pretty, not win the game, but puts you in a really, really good spot. So that's kind of how that is. And then we just have like better cards to round out our mid game, and the fact that we have a really good top end in the 7-drop, the 8-drop, and the 10-drop. But man, we did, and then just like a bunch of 4-drops, but a 6/8 vanilla goes a really long way. We've seen Thatch do very well in Newgate in the last couple of weeks, and Espira is a very good card for that. And the fact that, again, these are both searchable Big Mom Pirates. We've already been seeing like the 5-drop Yamato being very good, but now we have Randolph, which is also a Big Mom Pirate, so like we don't even have to worry about it, which is really nice. So I think both of those are just help you round out the mid game, even if they don't have any effect. The fact that you can play them, they're hard to disrupt, and also they're really nice because if you do drop a 10-drop Charlotte Linlin, it's just in a really, really good spot, and you're able to use it to like if you have this 5 and 8, not only they're hard to get rid of, but you can play the 10-drop and then have a 7k swing or 8k swing without any Dawn investment, which is very strong for what it is. So, and then also the Charlotte Katakuri, which this is getting better. I think it was, the meta was a little bit too fast in OP03 for this card to be very good, because like it just didn't do too much. It was kind of clunky to work with and a little bit expensive, but it has such good removal qualities in OP04, where again, if we're playing something slower or something like that, you can, playing this, putting a card in your opponent's life and then dropping the 10-drop next turn is a very viable play and something you kind of want to see more consistently. So that is kind of there. So I think that's great. The event cards are, Thunderbolt is stupid good if hit off your life. Sometimes you win the game if this card is in your life, which is cool. Sparrow and Cracker. I feel like Cracker's been like a little bit less good, since you can really, like, you really don't need like the double attack as much. I feel like you just get so much burn damage off like 10 drops and like random pokes off these vanillas that it's not as needed for you. So it's a good card to hit off your life, but if it isn't there, you're not in like a really bad, like Sanji's just better. Sanji, you play off your life, it's a blocker if you need it to be, and you don't even mind attacking with this as a 5k, which is cool. So that's the idea for this one. So we're still running obviously 10 trigger like 4-drops or like 5ks, which is good, and I think that kind of rounds it out. So this is the Katakuri list. We also do have this the black yellow Charlotte Linlin, which I tested just the other day on stream, and I honestly had like a really, really good time with this deck. This one's kind of obnoxious in the way that you really just double down on the fact that the 10-drop is a really good card. You just try to put a bunch of good blockers out, right? Black has, I would say, arguably the best blockers in the game. We have the Fukuro. We also have the Borsalino, which again is a Force 5, but you can make it a 6k. Like, I don't even mind swinging with this half the time, because then your opponent has to swing into a 6k afterwards, but also has like a lot of good protections for you. We also can have the Brulee that hits out of our life, our Sanji, and our Beige. If you guys see a pattern, there it is. We also have the Saba, which is also pretty good. It's like a 1-turn Borsalino that also gets some cycle for you, so you don't even have to be too worried about playing a bunch of these non-counter cards, but we are running like 4 copies of Thunderbolt, because again, if you hit it off your life, you're good. And since we get a lot of healing inherently off the Charlotte Linlin leader, it does cost 4, and you can only heal for 1, so I feel like Queen outpaces you still, but the fact that we are on the 10-drop means we can get that additional advantage. But the fact that we can heal 1 if we really need to means that we have a lot of chances for having additional trigger cards in our life. And then also, again, the 10-drop and 8-drop is really good for removal. If you want to bump up to 3 copies, you can. But and we also run the 6-king pistol. If you want the arrow, you can definitely run the arrow for it. But the fact that, again, that we have so many cards in our like that are hard to get out of our hand, and I felt like just so many times, like if I was worried about losing, it was like the turn I established my first 10-drop, and so being able to, or maybe even like my second 10-drop, so being able to have a card that we can have counter power without having any Dawn open, because there will be a lot of turns we have to use all of our Dawn. I just felt like 6-king pistol was better, and I don't think yellow has like one of our 0 3k counter extra cards right now, our event cards right now. So there's that. So this is just like a more fun deck if you like the Charlotte Linland package, but you don't want to play Katakuri, or I guess the Charlotte Linland star deck. This is I've been having fun with this list. I think it's very fun. And then lastly, we do have Yamato. This one's been like really differently built in the sense that this is more of just a really good tempo build. Where you just kind of be really aggressive. You take a lot of hits early, and then like you're a 6K leader, and you kind of take advantage of that. We do have like a new Yamato card, a new top end. So this one I think sees a lot of play in Queen, and it can be good in Yamato. I don't feel like it's as good in either of the Big Mom Pirate Center decks, but the fact that this lets you KO something, the fact that it lets you heal something, which is good for a leader that can't play the 10 drop, it helps you there. And in there, but like in this deck specifically, like you really want to go to like a really low life total very early, which is why we're also playing like this Monkey D. Luffy. That is the promo. I believe this is the promo from OP04 pre-releases. I guess I'll find out this weekend. But when you attack, you can add the top card, bottom card from your life to your hand. This becomes a 5K, and your leader becomes a 6K. So that's for the turn, which being able to do that, it's kind of like a smoothie effect, but it's on your character and your thing. So the idea for this is that you want to take your life very aggressively with this Monkey D. Luffy and the Scarlet Smoothie, and your opponent attacking into you, and then you become a 6K leader, which means that your opponent has to put additional resources into trying to hit damage. And if they do put you down to 1 copy, then you can Yamato, get rid of something, as well as get the heal. The only issue I have with this card is I wish it let you heal a card first and then do the popping effect. I feel like having it in the fact that it KOs and then heals is a bit of a disservice to the card. So other than that, I think this is great, and it's been very strong for you. It's only like popping 5s and 6s, but again, being a 9K 9-drop body that also heals you 1 if you're low life is very good. So, and you can get the effect of being able to put a Dawn underneath your leader and then play this. The only issue is I do like the arrow a lot. There are just so many times where I don't have the Dawn available to play it, and I'm going to look at it live right now. I don't think yellow has an event card that it costs 0 for that. If it did, I'd probably play it. Yeah, I don't think it has it yet. We'll probably get, I guess we're not getting into at least set 6, but I think that's the only thing that the deck is missing for that, but we'll see. That would be, I think, more helpful for the arrow when we're so aggressive with our Dawn management for here. But if your opponent, if you are at like 2 life, you can then attack with like Smoothie, use the effect to take the life, and then you can play Yamato, so you get like a free draw, which is kind of nice, and then a 7K Smoothie swing. So there are some good powers for, I think, this one in general. So that is the list here. This one's been more fun. I really do like Yamato, though, and I think it's been strong. But that's going to be my video. I know this is a little bit of a longer one, a little bit more opinion-based than I usually make it, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know your thoughts about yellow going into OP04 and just in your hopes for OP04 in general, and that's going to be it for me. So again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you all next time.